Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we inspire you, we motivate you. And boy, today we're going to educate you. We got a special show for you today, a gem. I have a dear friend of mine. I'll tell you what, he's going to drop a lot of value. So you know the scheme, right? You know what the drill. Get out your pen, get out your paper, and I want you to take massive notes because J.R. Spear is going to drop some massive wisdom. And you know, what you write down, you retain over 50% of it. So I want you to go back, study your notes after the episode, and even watch the episode one more time, because I guarantee you most people miss something on the first run of the show, and I want you to catch everything that JR has to offer you. JR, my brother, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, man. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and no pressure at all. So hopefully I don't disappoint you or your audience for what's about to go down.
No, man. Hey, well, I know the epic human being you are. Do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please, brother.
Yeah, well, my name is JR, and I own a couple different businesses. You know, I have Creek Consulting, where I help coaches build out their entire programs for a full done-for-you service. And then I'm also the founder, owner, and partner of Business Leaders Network, where we help connect industry leaders together so they can grow their influence and grow their impact. And my journey starts back, you know, I always say it goes back from when I came out of my mom's womb. I literally came out kicking. And because my mom always owned a martial arts school fitness program. And, you know, I got four sisters who grew up out of St. Louis, Missouri. And ever since I could walk, and we kind of grew up in the school. And so I was exposed to, you know, coaching and teaching and being in front of people from a very young age, but more importantly, how to serve. And so everything that I did growing up was to really make an impact to help other people. And my mom always joked that I never knew a stranger. So because if I saw someone that needed help, I was always like the first person to jump up and do what I can to be able to help them. And what got me into coaching and teaching was around 10 or 11 years old. And I grew up kicking and punching and leading classes and things like that. But, you know, there was one particular day that I'll never forget. Like, my mom got sick or something like that, and she wasn't able to go teach the classes. And, you know, I was pretty much the only one there that could do it. And I never taught a whole class, much less multiple classes per day. And so I got dropped off at the school, and it was like, all right, JR, go do it. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go figure this out. But I'll tell you, that was the start of my journey of learning how to teach. And so from a very young age, I grew up teaching martial arts, traveling all over the St. Louis area. And then eventually in high school around the country, teaching other school owners on how to teach. And you know, I competed on a national level and was exposed to a lot. And then out of high school, went in the military. So I signed up for the United States Navy, but ended up serving on the Marine Corps the entire time as a chaplain's assistant. So what people don't know is that chaplains in the military are non-combatants, meaning they can't even carry a weapon for defense. So they had someone like me that was actually their bodyguard, security, whatever you want to call it, where we provided security for the chaplain and also morale support to the Marines and sailors that we served with. And so,
man, that's good. So hold up. So as a chaplain, you're not allowed to carry a weapon? I didn't know that.
No, chaplains can't carry anything for weapons. So medical personnel, doctors and corpsmen, they're non-combatants as well, but they can carry a weapon for defense. So to protect themselves or the patient that they're working on in combat. But chaplains, they're the only ones that can't even carry a weapon to protect themselves. So they used to just put a Marine with the chaplain, and then they, I forget how many years now, but it's probably like 40 years old. I forget what year it was that they came out the billet saying, hey, we want to designate a personnel to actually do this job. And so, so I found out about the job when I went into boot camp and fell in love with it and did 4 years. But there was one particular moment that ultimately changed the whole outcome of my life. And it was on February 7th of 2007 when I was in Barwana, Iraq. And I was involved and survived a suicide bombing at a walking checkpoint where when I was standing at the walking checkpoint with other Marines, there was a guy coming in and went about 6-7 feet from me, lifted his arm, strapped with C4, and killed himself. And it ended up killing 3 of our own, injuring a bunch of others. And it was definitely one of those eye-awakening come to Jesus moments, because at that moment I realized that God had a bigger plan and purpose for my life, because me being the closest one to that blast, and I walked away with no external injuries that anyone could see. Now, do I have other
Hold on,
stuff that I deal with?
let's slow
Absolutely.
down a bit, slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
because we're missing a lot of gems you're talking about here. You said somebody was wrapped in C4, blew themselves up in front of you. How close was that to you, man?
I
How
was so I walked right by him, and I was probably about 7 feet around right when the blast happened.
and nothing
So
happened to you?
I was thrown, left unconscious, and and then when I finally came to it, I saw my chaplain on the ground, and I had straight tunnel vision, couldn't see to my left or right, and much less couldn't hear anything. I had straight ringing in the right side of my ear, and I still have ringing and issues with my right side of my face even today, and couldn't lift my arm. I didn't know if I had all my limbs, but I remember just seeing the chaplain on the ground trying to get underneath the shelter that we had, and I did what I just training kicked in, grabbed the back of his flak, dragged him about 25 yards, got underneath that shelter, and assisted the Marines for patrolling and assessing the area for any other potential danger.
So
And
let me ask
so,
you
but
this. So now as you look back, right? You look back at the moment, we're sitting here talking about it on the Daniel Gomez Inspire show.
yeah,
Do you reflect back on that? What is that like? What is that? What is the meaning you gave that moment in time for your life? Because I think so many times people have these life-changing events like this, and we assign it the wrong meaning. We assign it a meaning that doesn't add value to our future, or doesn't add value to our life. What meaning did you assign to that situation, to that event?
there's first off, to answer the first question, yes, I think about it every day. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not reminded about what happened, and even the gift that God gave me. He gave me an opportunity to still be here and to serve, and that's the big meaning that I have. It's like, man, if God blessed me, gave me grace to be able to still be here today with all my limbs, with a voice to be able to serve and help people, I can't let that go to waste. And so I show up every single day trying to give my best, knowing that I'm here for a reason, and I can't let that go down a hole for nothing. And so, but yeah, I mean, talking about every single day, I suffer with like my right arm having limited rotation. I suffer with the right side of my face having a ringing, and even when I talk for a long periods of time, I get echo of my own voice in my right side of my face. I have like numbness on the right side of my head all the time, and so just having those injuries kind of always makes me reflect back of why I'm here, what happened, and I count my blessings. God has me here for a reason. I try to do what I can to make the best of it.
Well, I want to thank you first of all for your service, man. It just I think sometimes when we sign up for the military or people sign up, they don't really realize that you're signing up you're signing an agreement that you might not come back home one day. And people
Yeah.
don't realize how just of a big decision that is in young people's lives. Because a lot of times when you go in, you're 18 or 19 and you don't know the meaning sometimes of what you're signing until you experience something like that. So thank you for your service, brother. And I honor you today on the show, man. And you're alive, and I'm grateful because I got a chance to meet you at an amazing business conference. And I think the first question I want to ask you when it comes to business is, what two things that you learned in the Marine Corps that you now implement in business that really help to your success? Because I think so many times when we have a young entrepreneur, they come into this arena of whether it's a brick and mortar, real estate, whatever it may be, and they're the business owner. They have that employee mindset and they don't have the discipline that they need. So what are two things that you brought from the Marine Corps that really, like, you look back like, man, I'm grateful that I learned that in the Corps because it helped me become a better business person?
There's not just one, there's not just one or two things that I learned from it from an entrepreneur standpoint, but there's a ton of stuff that I can unpack to really make me focused on what we can do. But one talk that I give all the time is learning to be prepared for the ambush. And I talk about the ambush of me getting blown up by that suicide bomber on that day and being able to survive and walk away. with no external injuries. But also in our business, we need to understand that there are going to be days and times that we are going to get ambushed, meaning there's going to be something that takes us by surprise. And if we're not prepared or ready to react without thinking, then we're not going to be able to survive that. And it's a big eye opening. But the truth is, when COVID happened, most people weren't prepared. Most people weren't ready. A lot of the businesses failed. And it's because they didn't put in the steps or action that it took to actually do it. But there's an acronym that I created, and it's actually the name of my consulting business, called CREED. And so when I started thinking about what do I want to call my business name, I wanted it to be something of core values, something that exemplifies who I am, but for what I set standards for myself, but also what I set standards for my clients, because there's a lot of reasons why businesses and entrepreneurs fail. But if you really dial down to it, there's two main things that it comes down to. And one is commitment, and two is sacrifice. Most people are not willing to commit and do the things that it takes to actually build their business. And because we can say we're fully committed in, but when it comes to starting a business, everyone gets this idea of like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I can make my own schedule. I can do whatever I want. I can come and go as I please. I can, do all these amazing things. This is a beautiful life. And yes, you can create those opportunities, but you got to sacrifice the things that it takes to actually build to it, to be able to get you to that point. But you got to first make that choice. You got to commit to it. You got to have that discipline, and you have to be willing to sacrifice the things that it takes to build it. Because being an entrepreneur takes a particular breed. It's not everyone can just jump in and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Can you do it? Can you make some money? Can you have a simple lifestyle? Absolutely. But we're on the Daniel Gomez show, and we are here to really teach people about how to build millionaires. And you can't just show up and do mediocre work if you want to be a millionaire. You got to have change.
Oh, baby, you're getting me fired up.
Change everything you do. But it's the truth. So
yeah,
when I came up with
you're right.
Values,
I love that, because sometimes we think it's easy, right? We see J.R. Spears on the boat. We see J.R. Spears, the life that he's living now, but we don't see what J.R.'s went behind the scenes. They don't see the life that you actually live. And me and you, I love you and respect you so much, because we've had a couple of heart-to-heart talks this past year, man. And just, sometimes in business, you get burned, you get betrayed, you get hurt, you get backstabbed, and you overcame a lot of these things. And most people, they can't. And they don't see what a Daniel, a JR, what some of these people at the top levels, if you think you're going to be in business and you're not going to grow your character, God's not going to force you to mature, you're sadly mistaken. And I love what you're saying, because you had to mature in so many areas. And the commitment, I would even say this. What would you say about this? Right? Not only do you have to commit, but there's even times where you got to recommit.
Oh, 1000%. It's like running a race. Like, how many times have you, like, let's just say if you've done, I used to be an avid triathlete. So I'm training for like my half Ironman back in 2015. And I can't tell you how many days I'm out there putting one foot in front of the other, running these miles after miles, swimming all the different laps in the pool, biking, all the path that I had to go do. And I can't tell you how many times I was like, you know what, I want to be done. And why am I doing this? What is this for? But it was a commitment that I made. But I want to go back to like what the core values that I created with CREED, because it's really important for people to understand. And CREED stands for commitment, resilience, excellence, execution, and discipline. These are the 5 core values that I instill in myself. But the question I like to ask everyone is like, what is the one thing that you're most committed to? That you be resilient even through the most difficult times, that you show up giving your best, not settling for good enough, and having the mental and physical discipline to complete the mission. Because it's all those different core values that we need to do and exemplify every day that's going to take us to the things that we need to do to continue moving the needle forward in our business. But just like you say, we have to constantly recommit. It's over and over. It's that decision every morning when you wake up saying, hey, I'm committed to doing this. I'm going to show up and I'm going to give my best at everything I do. We can give mediocre work. We could show up and just be like, okay, you know what, that's good enough. But if you're showing up and you have that mindset saying, hey, that's good enough, let's move on. Well, then go work a 9-to-5 job, because this job out here as an entrepreneur is not for you. But those that want to succeed, that want to hit those 7, 8, 9, and 10 figures and beyond, you have to show up giving your best all the time to separate you from your marketplace. But you got to be committed and having that discipline and that choice to saying, hey, I'm here to do it, and I'm here to give my best, because people are counting on you.
I love it, man. I love it. So give us what does CREED mean again? Give us that one more time.
Yeah. So CREED stands for commitment, resilience, excellence, execution, and discipline.
And the question I want you to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, is where on this acronym CREED are you slacking, or do you need to reinforce or strengthen? Is it your commitment? Is it resilience? You know, sometimes people don't think about this. People say, "Yeah, I'm resilient, right?" I've been pretty resilient my whole life, but sometimes you can get a level of success, and then your resilience wears off because you get comfortable and you get satisfied. And I'll tell you that I've had to recommit to my resilience sometimes, because sometimes you're like, man, dude, do I really want to grow at another level? Like, God, I'm cool, right? Like, I'm good. And it's like God always has a way of probing you to another level. So I'll be honest with my audiences, man. I had to recommit to my resilience, because sometimes you just like it's painful. It's really, really painful. Excellence, execution. Ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, am I executing the way I need to? Nothing, right? We can have the belief system, we can study, we can do everything, but without execution, there's nothing.
Yeah. So action creates momentum that leads to success, but everything starts with a vision. So if you don't really have that vision of where you're going to go and what you're doing, if you are not setting your vision high enough where it scares you, then you're only going to reach a certain level. And I had a, slap in the face last year, because I one of my mentors where I was like, you know what, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm settling and I'm okay. I'm getting complacent. Well, all over when I was in Iraq, everywhere you go, we have signs of saying complacency kills. Because the day that you get complacent is the day that you actually get killed. That's when bombs go out. That's when you step on a landmine. That's when you have an IED that blows up next to you, and you got to know how to react without thinking. But it's no different in our business. The day that we get complacent inside of our business is the day our business line starts going downhill, and we start settling for okay, mediocre. Well, eventually it ends up killing the entire business. So if you don't have a vision of knowing exactly where you're going to go, and that bar's not set high, you're only going to settle for so much. So like if you say, hey, you know what, I'm okay with making $100,000 a year or whatever, you're only going to be making about 50,000. And you say, hey, you know what, I'm okay with only making $1 million. Well, you're only going to make maybe half of that, a quarter. So set your vision higher than what you think, that it's so scary that it seems almost impossible to achieve. Because when you do that, you're going to work that much harder. You're going to have that much resilience, and you're never going to quit. And you're going to keep chasing something bigger and greater than what you are. And not just that, God's going to use you in big ways. But I also want to say this, because you talk about recommitment. You are not going to be able to get to a level of success if you don't go through failures. I mean, I've had businesses stolen from me from people that are the closest to me that you can imagine. I've had money taken away. I have my name forged in different things. I've had, clients or even staff members trying to take my name and my businesses and take away clients. I have people that are closest to me that are talking crap about me at my own events and trying to steal away my clients from different things. And you got to have thick skin when it comes to this. But the one thing is, you can't lose yourself in the mix. You have to remember who you are. Because there's a quote that was told to me.
Let me ask you this. This because this is good, because we just had how does someone, because someone right now is listening to this episode, JR, and they're being talked about, they're being ridiculed. And one of my mentors, right? I just had a great coaching session with one of my coaches on Saturday. He goes, when people ain't doing what they know they should be doing, they're going to be jealous and envious of you. He goes, let me tell you again, Daniel, when people, they know they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, when they see their own shortcomings and they see you taking your business, your life to another level, they're going to get jealous and envious. He goes, you just got to continue moving forward. So what are one or two ways that you develop that thicker skin? Because I think people need to hear this, because so many people, they allow the distractions of other people. They allow the opinions of other people. They allow what they say to throw them off track. And the only reason they're saying that is because they're not content with their success, because they know they have shortcomings.
Yeah. So I'm going to give two different things. But one thing there's a quote that was told to me from a friend of mine. I interviewed on my podcast a couple of years ago, but the one thing that he told me, it resonates not even just professional level or life, but also in my personal life. And it's very simple. The way you respond is everything. So the way you respond to your wife coming at you, your friends coming at you, your enemies coming after you, your clients coming after you, your employees, whoever it is, because the way that you respond can change the entire outcome of any situation. Even if it's coming down to put you down or whatever it may be, it's how you respond to that situation that can change the entire outcome of what it is. Because one thing that we have to understand is, when people are rashing out at you, just like you say, you almost got to take it as a compliment if they're coming to attack you for what you do, because there's a level of jealousy, a level of whatever that may be. You got to take it as a compliment, and you got to ask a reason why they are doing that in the first place. And it usually boils down to, one, they're not confident in what they're doing themselves. Two, they don't know how to do it, and so they're trying to mimic or copy success from someone else. And or three, they might have just had a bad day. We don't know what people are going through. And so we got to have grace, especially as Christians, to be able to do it. But it's funny that we're on this subject, because this morning I like to use the Bible app. So I use the Bible app, and the verse that came up today when I opened it up this morning was Luke 6:27-28. And it says this: but to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. So I'll say it one more time. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, and bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. So we are supposed to,
powerful.
yeah, we're supposed to be the example. I mean, if we're always reacting off of emotion, we're never going to be able to excel. And this is the hardest thing for me, because I've always been like, someone attacks me, I'm going right after them. Like I'm ready, fire, aim type individual. And I want to, I grew up in martial arts. So if a punch is coming at you, I want to get that punch right back. And I've had to learn, and I'm still struggle with it. I still don't respond the right way all the time when it comes to different situations, but I reflect on it, because, now that I got the wisdom, and I know, and I see guidance from the Holy Spirit and from God to be able to teach and guide me. It's like, man, I need forgiveness on this, because I suck at this a lot, but I know, and I try to make myself better at it. And when you got people out there that are doing these different things, you ask yourself why. Why are they doing this? What's going on in their life that's making them want to do this? And how can you be a better leader, a better example? Because a leader is someone that helps someone move. A leader is not someone that just motivates. A leader is someone that helps someone move to create action and to make a difference. And so as a leader, we need to make sure that we ask ourselves, like, okay, what's going on in their life, and how can I make a difference to serve them so that they become better, to be able to move their business, their life, or whatever that situation may be. But we're not there to, like, if we always take whatever lash is coming at us. And here's the thing too, we all heard the saying that God doesn't put us in situations we can't handle. And I want to take that as hard, because the truth is, he doesn't give us situations we can't handle. And it's a matter of, are we going to be resilient to push through from it? Because almost every lesson that ever happened in my life, from young child to the military, to getting blown up, to, failure and successful in business, was to prepare me to serve someone else in the future. And I can tell you, like, everything that I've gone through, even from when I had,
let's slow it down a little bit, because I don't want you're saying, right. Let's break it up, because there's a lot of good gems. I don't want to rush through these. So, ladies and gentlemen, where do you need to get thicker skin at? Think about that. Listen to what JR just said. Everything he's gone through, from being almost blown up by C4, by being, right, having clients stolen by his own employees, have prepared them to coach and help other people down the road. So what are you holding on in your heart? What resentment are you holding on to right now? And who is that resentment towards? Because like JR said, it's preparing you for the next level. It's preparing you for the next season of your life. And it's true. And one thing that we don't realize, JR, is that resentment is easy to build up, right? It's like residue. And it's like, it's somebody does an accusation against you, or somebody just, right, they rub you the wrong way, whatever it is. And it doesn't seem like a big thing. Oh, it doesn't matter. But in reality, it does, because you're suppressing that emotion. And then you have somebody else that comes along and, oh, it doesn't matter, but it really does. So now you got double the resentment, triple the resentment, and you don't even realize it. And that resentment can cause our life from growing, our business from growing, because really resentment turns into unforgiveness. And then now we start having a hard heart, because we're approaching things the wrong way, because the way we've been treated, instead of really saying, like what the scripture you just read, just forgive them, right? Because you don't know what someone's going through. I love that aspect, but I think too, there comes a point where you gotta give yourself permission to outgrow people, because sometimes people, they don't want to grow, right? Something that I loved about what my mentor and coach Sonny said was this, was right. He goes, Daniel, as you're ascending, as God is ascending you, People are going to be inspired that are wanting to be inspired, that are growing themselves. But people that are looking at their shortcomings that don't want to grow or just don't think they can do it, those are the ones that are jealous and envious. He goes in, you got to give yourself to take those, you got to give yourself permission to take those people out of your life.
Yeah.
What does that say to you, brother?
You know, you're only as strong as the people around you and that you surround yourself. And we have that choice to do so. And a lot of times those choices are hard to make. I mean, gosh, I've had to push family members aside. And this doesn't mean you have to give them out of your life 100%. But it means you need to learn to set boundaries, because you're going to be held back and you're going to be influenced by your environment that you're in. And if you allow certain people to speak life into you that doesn't belong, you're never going to be able to level up and be able to expand and grow. So when it comes to, bad things happen to you from family or friends or whatever it may be, and you call them enemies or whatever, we're there, doesn't mean, yes, we have forgiveness, but it doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. It just means, hey, you know what? I forgive you for this, but I'm going to set boundaries in place now because I don't want to go through this again. And you learn from it, and then you grow from it, and then you go teach someone else how to overcome that. Because I guarantee you, more times than not, I can't tell you how many times that I've gone through a situation, and then I'm on a call with a friend, a client, or whatever, and they're telling me what they're going through, and I'm sitting there laughing on the phone while they're in tears on the phone about pouring their heart out to me, because I'm like, man, I've gone through the same exact thing, and I'm gonna show you how I navigated through this so you can do it better. And I've been able to do that, and it's a really cool thing. But it's like, man, you don't know why you're going through the mess that you're in right now, because it's there to make you stronger and to prepare for something bigger later. And most people, especially entrepreneurs, don't want to go through that mess. They don't want to go through those struggles. They don't want to go through those hard times. But I will say, if you're obedient and you're in constant prayer and you're seeking guidance from the Holy Spirit, God's going to use that in a powerful way to make a big impact later on.
What's the best business advice that you've ever been given?
Hire a coach.
Hire a coach.
Hire a coach.
I like that.
But
it's not JR, guys. But
it's not because I'm a coach or whatever myself. Yeah. But the reality is, we all get in this mindset sometimes where it's like, hey, you know what? I know what I got to do. I got the tools and systems to be able to do it. But there's always blind spots that we don't see. And that coach is there to help show you those blind spots, to be that soundboard, to be that guidance when you're going through the good times, the bad times. Because anytime that someone says, hey, I got the tools and the strategy, or I don't need a network, or I don't need your help on this because I know what I got to do, that's the biggest reason why that person needs to have a coach. Because I've been in those situations. I've been like, you know what? I know what I got to do. I don't need a coach. And that's when I start seeing my business flatline or start to take a decrease. But I have someone good in my corner that I trust, that is way further along in my business, what I have or where I'm at, and they have the moral and ethical beliefs that I have when it comes to building the business. I always see an increase because they are seeing what I'm not seeing, and they're that soundboard. Even if it's just being accountable, it's like having a fitness coach. It's like, you may not follow the plans that they tell you to do, but you know you got to show up to that call with something, because you don't want to be that person that says, hey, I didn't do this. And that's what a coach does, is having that accountability, that conviction, or just that friend to help you to get where you need to go. But that's always been the best advice that I've ever given, was like, hey, have a coach, have someone and you need to have a coach that you pay for. Don't seek free guidance and mentorship. We can all have friends and mentors in our life.
I love what you're saying right there, because I've invested, I think, now I was doing it because we just finished doing our book. So now, right, here in Texas, we've grown so much. So now we have workman's comp, and we have all these different, like, now we had to redo our whole foundation of our business because God blessed us so much. So now I'm legitimately paying myself now as an employee, and we got workman's comp and all these things. And I'm like, man, like, where's all this money coming out of? Right. And they're like, well, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that. And, but I share that with you because now I appreciate my business even more now. It's right. People don't see that. It's like, man, well, you know what? I'm paying for workman's comp. I'm paying for this insurance. We're bonded this. We're doing this because we're a legitimate business now. Not that we weren't, but now it's like it's next level because we're growing. Why is it important that people understand that it's you pay for a coach instead of seeking a free coach? What do you think is the difference in the mindset in that?
It has to hurt. It has to be something that you think about. and that it's painful, that you work hard to be resilient and you're committed to making sure you're taking advantage of it. I mean, I'm not saying that all free advice is bad advice, because I've had some great mentors in my life that has supported me, that give me more time than even some paid coaches. But it has to hurt in some level that I'm accountable to that person for it. Here's the other thing too, when it comes to investing in a coach. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that may disagree with it. You may disagree with it. I'm not sure. But, you know, for me, I'm a firm believer that it's really hard to sell something at a certain price if you've never been willing to invest that amount in you. If you can't bet on yourself and be able to pay for that type of investment for yourself. So if you're like, you know what, I
Say
could
that
never
again.
spend.
Say that again. I don't want them to miss that. Say it slower though, but because I love what you just said. That was a boom, baby. Come on.
It's really hard to be able to sell someone on something at a certain price if you've never been able to bet on yourself at that same level. Meaning, if you want to be able to sell your program, product, service, I don't care what it is, a vehicle at $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, but you're never willing to bet on yourself to pay that much, to me, you're almost a fraud. Because why are you trying to convince someone out there to be able to spend this much, but you're never willing to go out there and invest it on yourself? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that'll do it and be like, you know what, I won't spend $5,000 on a coach or services for a period of time, but I want people to pay me $10,000 or $20,000. I mean, gosh, I probably spent more over the past 10 years, more than $500,000 just on coaching and services for myself to be able to get to where I'm at. And I do so because I see the level that it does, but I also want to level me up. And I will say this too. When you are willing to spend 10, 15, 25, $50,000 or $100,000 on yourself, your confidence level to go out there and sell something for that much is so much greater. Like my only offer that I really have is $50,000 for someone to work with me. And I will tell you, every time I sell it for $50,000, I feel gross. I'm like, man, I just gave that away. I feel like that is so cheap. I just gave it away for the product and what I'm actually delivering to my clients, because I know that they're going to get a minimum of a 2x investment if they follow through, they implement what I show them to do. Because every person that I've ever been able to give that to, they have been able to do so. And I feel gross every time I do that.
But
because
you know what?
I know what it's worth.
I agree with what you're saying, because, you know, I want to say I definitely broke 300,000 already in what I've invested in myself. Just this year, I paid $10,000 a month for coaching from an elite coach, and he used to coach some celebrities, and it was, but it really, this is the way I see it, is from what you're saying, right? When people pay, they pay attention.
Yeah.
When people pay, millionaires understand when people pay, they pay attention. And I'll tell you what, I was happy to pay that 10,000 for the month, because I knew that it was an investment in my future, into my investment in me. And you're right, because it does give you the confidence or the ability to say, because you're sowing a seed. You're sowing a seed into somebody else's business for that amount. So when you're asking for it, it's like, well, it's kind of like you're right, because you've sown that seed. So I'm expecting my harvest, God, to say, because it gives you that worthiness, it gives you that deservedness. And I agree with you 110%, because if you can't bet on your future self, who's going to bet on you? And if you can't bet on you, who's going to bet on you?
Yeah.
And so many people, they make excuses. Well, and so I love this. I want to talk about this. This came to my mind because I kind of experienced this. What do you say to somebody, JR, that's saying, well, JR, I want to work with you, but right now, JR, you know, I think what you offer is good, but right now I just can't afford to pay for your coaching because my business isn't where it needs to be. I don't have the revenue. Like, when they say that, what comes to mind? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, first off, that's one of the biggest objections that anyone comes to me and says, like, oh, I want your services, but I don't know if I can afford it. I mean, I love helping them figure out a way to do it. I mean, when I said before early on in this thing, it all starts with vision. And when we are talking to that prospect that says, I just don't know if I can afford it, they lost belief in themselves and the vision where they're going to go to. So you gotta paint that picture for them. You gotta let them see, well, if you want the same result that you're getting right now, you got to then stop doing anything. Don't make a change. But if you want to make a change, if you want to reach this goal, this future, this vision that you want to do, you have to make a change. And if you don't get any help, go figure it out on your own, and you'll come back to me. And I guarantee you're probably going to be in the same place that you are right now. But if you want to make change and you want to get there faster and you want to be able to implement, make a bigger impact, they'll do it. And then I show them on how we can create an offer that it only takes 1 or 2 clients to be able to help get the same results to help pay for your investment. Get 3 or 4 clients, and now you just got a massive ROI on what I just showed you how to do. And so when you start painting the future and the picture and even the roadmap of how they can get the results that covers that, then it becomes super cheap to them. Because like, oh man, you're right. So if let's just say, my program's $50,000, like if I can show them how they can get 5 clients to pay for that over the next 1 to 3 months or whatever like that, then it becomes the question is really simple. It's not expensive anymore. It's cheap.
Yes.
So you have to paint the picture and show them the future of what's possible. And you got to give them the roadmap of how you're able to help them get there. And when you can do that, you now instilled a greater belief in themselves that they didn't have getting on that call with you. And therefore now they're going to go out there and conquer and have the confidence to be able to achieve what they didn't think was possible.
So ladies and gentlemen, where are you not having full confidence in yourself? Where are you not having the belief in what you offer, what you do? Maybe you're listening to this episode and you're one saying, man, that kind of sounds like me, Daniel. That kind of sounds like me, JR, that I make excuses that I can't afford it because I got to pay my rent. I got to pay this. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay for daycare. And my business is just making a little bit of money right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I started my business when my wife had a double mastectomy, major surgery, 2 in a month. 2017. 2 major surgeries. One was a double mastectomy. I still made a decision to start my business, even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I still paid $5,000 to go to this conference with the JMT, the John Maxwell team, because I knew I needed to change something in what I was doing. I was first of all, I had the faith in God that he was going to guide me. Maybe your answer today is, man, I need faith in God, because you're trying to figure it out on your own, and God's bringing you help. God's bringing you a JR. God's bringing you a Daniel, but you're too scared because you're trying to do it on your own strength, and you're crying out to God. Well, God's waiting on you. God's waiting on you to take action, to hire somebody or to get out of that same environment that you're in. And JR, when I went on this conference, everything changed for me because it opened up my mind. I met my first author ever. I was around 2,500 positive people. Never experienced that in my life. I'm like, are these people like on drugs? I'm like, no, they're just like me. I had never experienced that. But it unlocked something in me. And sometimes we're just in our own little environment, right? We're domesticated to what we know. And your little block, and I call it, right? You put yourself in a prison, you put yourself in a cell block in your neighborhood because that's all you know and that's all you've ever known. And because you've imprisoned yourself, you've domesticated yourself, you've never gone out of that. And you need to go into those bigger opportunities that are out there for you because God is waiting on you. So let me ask you this. What would you say to someone that's still listening to this episode and still saying, well, I don't have the courage. I don't have the belief and confidence in myself to bet on myself that way right now?
Yeah, I love that. I love that question because this is a common thing. And I tell a quote that I came up a long time ago is that confidence comes with clarity. So the more clear you are in your program, your offers, and your deliverables, the more confident you're going to be. And essentially, there's 3 main things that I teach my clients when they first start with me that can honestly make an impact in their business today if they implement it. One is your offer. So you first have to have the right offer that's going to help you get you where to go, because most people are not selling at the price that they need to be able to get there. So they undercharge themselves. They don't believe in their worth of what they have. And there's, let's just say, something that they could sell for $1,000, they're selling it for $100. It's like, why are they doing that? And I did this with a lot of my clients, but one particular, when I changed these 3 things, her first one being her offer, she was able to more than 2x she more than doubled her offer that week, and started going out there and more than 3 or 4 times extra business within that first month by doing that. So you got to change your offer. And when you go out there and sell it one time at a higher price, when you do, you'll never go back, because now your confidence is just built. So your offer, your value stack, which your value stack needs to be 10 times greater than the price you sell it for. Your offer is where you start. The second thing, you got to make sure that you have the right message. Your message needs to match your offer, and then making sure that it's very clear, because a confused mind is never going to buy. So if your message and you're conveying it about what you have to offer, what you're giving, what you even do, and you get this dead stare from the people you're talking to, like, what did they just say? And they're confused. You just lost them 100%. But you got to make sure that your message is really clear, to the point that people understand what it is that you do. So that way you can create bigger opportunities and be able to sell your offer. And the third thing is, you got your offer, you got your message, but the third thing is your belief. You got to believe in what you're selling. You got to believe in your worth. And you got to believe in that you are out there to make a difference, because everyone out there is worth so much greater than we're doing. Even me, I believe that I'm worth more than what I even sell my program for, and what I do. And, and trying to get to that point where I can even level up and keep going more and getting bigger. But it's all in the belief. So we got to change our belief. We got to create the right offers, and we got to change our message so that way it aligns with it. But if they do those three things and they start taking action on it, they'll start seeing a big improvement right away inside of their business.
I love it, man. I love it. How does somebody get a hold of JR Spear if they want to work with them?
Yeah, the best way is just connect with me on Facebook. Just go to jrspear.com, or get connected in our community. Go to blncommunity.com and check out some of our calls. That's the best way to come on there, get some interaction from us, connect with other industry leaders like Daniel Gomez inside of our community, to really level up and start changing your belief. And I want to hit on one other thing, because you said your life started changing when you went to that John Maxwell event. And for me, mine was when I joined this mastermind years ago, and I wanted to get in the online space, because my vision was, I didn't want to be a slave doing out there, working this crazy amount of hours, but we were growing our family. And so in 2016, we had our first kid. We were growing our family and building the life that we want. And I didn't want to be on the road all the time. I didn't want to be doing all these things that they couldn't be a part of. And so I just wanted to make an extra $1,000 online. And that was my limiting belief. I was like, I just want to make $1,000 online. So I found this coach, and I was more in the fitness space. So I was helping a lot of fitness coaches and entrepreneurs and nutritionists and those in wellness build their businesses. But I joined this mastermind, and within 2 weeks or 30 days, I went to their live event that was down in Clearwater, Florida. And when I went to that event, and I'm looking around, there was probably like 200-300 people there. And a lot of them, a higher percentage, were making $10, $20, $50, $100,000 online. And I'm like, these people in here have way less experience than me. Their personality, it was like, they have barely any social skills. And you try to go talk to them and they just kind of freeze. Like, how in the heck are they doing this? So I challenged myself. I was like, you know what, if they can make 10, 15, 20,000, $100,000 online, I'm going to do better than that. And so within 3 to 4 months, I became like top 10% inside of that whole mastermind by doing it, but because I had to change my belief. And just by changing my belief and what I did, and by surrounding myself around people that are doing bigger things than me and that had what I wanted, I was able to change the way that I acted, the way I showed up, and my discipline and focus of where I wanted to go. So that $1,000 ended up increasing 100 times fold, way more than that. And then I saw what was possible, and started taking massive action to do it.
Love it, brother. Love it. What's a scripture or a quote you rely on to end the show in times of adversity?
Oh man. So we're not to live our life in fear, but in power, love, and sound mind. So worry, fear, those are all things of the enemy. And so we need to make sure that we're constantly feeding us, and we're seeking his guidance. Because anytime I have worry or fear, I always have to remind myself that that's of the enemy. That has nothing to do with Christ, and that's not of Christ. That's not of the Holy Spirit. And then I rebuke in the name of Jesus, and I start focusing on what he has for me, and keep one foot in front of the other.
Love it, brother. One and only JR Spear. Connect with them here on Facebook, like he said. We'll have all his information in the show notes. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on an epic show this week. And if you're in the San Antonio, Texas area, and you want to become a paid speaker, we want to see you at our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, September 8th and 9th. We're bringing in a great Jim Cathcart to be our keynote speaker. You definitely want to learn from this gentleman. I'm excited to learn from him here in San Antonio, Texas, Friday and Saturday, September 8th and 9th. I want to see you here on stage at Sticker Shock, where you can share your story and you can learn how to build a speaking business. Reach out to me. Call me at 210-663 5954. I want to see you at Sticker Shock. And until next week with another amazing guest here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Once again, thank you, JR, for being a great guest, my brother. I loved you, man. Love you. And congratulations on that beautiful baby boy Logan again. Woo! Until next week, everybody. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.